Hello, everyone. Man, we have a show for you today with James Harper Live. We have a very special guest, Bernie Gallerani from RE/MAX Choice Properties here in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Man, the accolades just keep going with this young man who's got a tremendous amount of experience. In 2018 and 2020, he was the #1 agent in MLS for both dollar volume and the number of transactions. Consistently ranks in the top 20 of all RE/MAX agents nationwide and the top 50 in the world, and currently is in the top 1% of all realtors in all of Tennessee. He has been in business for over 15 years, has proven methodologies and scripted systems and accountability standards that really work. If you're a new or an existing agent, you don't want to miss this episode. It's going to be super awesome. We want you to engage, ask questions to our panel. And if you're a potential seller and you want to know more about what to do next in selling your home, this is the episode you don't want to miss. We are coming live right now. Go big or go home, baby. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Welcome, Bernie Gallerani. We really appreciate your time today, and thank you for being on the show. We have a lot of exciting stuff, a lot of information to share, and we just want to dive right into it, and we want all the engagement out there that we can in our viewership. This is streaming across Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and I believe even LinkedIn. So well, maybe it'll be saved to LinkedIn later. So we're streaming everywhere, and we want to make sure we get all this information that we want to share from your knowledge, your experience. And as I said just a few minutes ago, the accolades go on and on. So thank you for being on the show, Bernie.
Thank you, James. I'll tell you what, I was watching that intro. It looks like you're having a lot of fun in that video.
Yeah, we like to hype it up, and we'll do it for you too. So.
I love the energy that you guys had in that video. That was great.
Good. Well, let's dive right in. I want to hear a little bit about what got you into real estate. What made you say, man, this is just something that I really feel passionate and feel like it's my calling? What made you get into the real estate business 15 plus years ago?
Yeah, that's a great question. I moved here from Las Vegas. I'm originally from the West Coast, California. Stopped off in Las Vegas. I was in another industry. Moved to Tennessee and wanted to get into something different. And so got a real estate license and started to sell. And 2005 was my first year in business. And the opportunity was, I hired a coach right off the bat. So
really,
So when I got licensed, started selling in January. I hired a coach in December of 2004. I'm a West Coaster, so I came into the southern part of the country and really didn't understand kind of how things went and worked. And so I thought, well, I'll hire a coach and teach me how to do this thing in the right way. And after about 4 or 5 months, I had a lot of early success in real estate in the first 4 or 5 months in the business. And I thought to myself, man, I'm not even really very good at it yet. And I'm making more money now than I'd ever made before. So I knew at that point it was time to dive in 100% and see what I could do with it.
And so what was your career? What was your past life career that you said, man, I don't want to do this no more. This is no good for me.
Yeah, I left when I was in Vegas. I was in the franchise sales business, so I used to sell franchises over the phone, $200,000 to $500,000 small business setups. So I did that. That was fun and fine, and made an okay living doing that. Very respectable business. But I wanted something more exciting. I needed a little more face-to-face with people than just sitting in an office all day talking with folks. And so I've always been in sales my whole life. So I figured, what the heck, I'll try real estate, and it's worked out really well.
And so when you first jumped into real estate, did you think, man, I know how I was when I jumped into the mortgage business. I mean, I was in a career path in engineering that just absolutely just sucked the life out of me. I didn't feel like I had a quality of life. I didn't feel like I had the freedom to make unlimited income. I mean, I just was kind of paralyzed in my own profession that I'd gone to school and spent a lot of money going to school for. And so when I jumped in the mortgage business, I thought, man, I don't know, this. Somebody at a party said, hey, you ought to try this. You'd be great at it. And next thing I know, I jumped into it. But then what happened with me is that entrepreneurship kind of kicked in. And did you feel like that was going to happen to you when you first jumped in, or did you just feel like I'm just going to sell houses and be really good at it?
Yeah. Well, you know, because I signed up with coaching, I'm going to give the credit to the coaching program. I signed up with Mike Ferry early in late December of 04 when like I said, started selling in January. And so they had just set a path for me that was of success. I was about making money and selling houses at that particular time in my life. So it wasn't a matter of whether I worked 7 days a week and whether it was a 12-hour day. It was about proving my success to myself.
Yeah.
I'll say this, through the Mike Ferry coaching system, I was able to set a plan and a schedule. It all made sense to me. Their organization worked on developing a great work ethic and work skill within the real estate industry. And so I just followed that program. I think as I started having more success with real estate, though, and I got into personally selling between 130 and 150 listings a year, I started wondering myself, well, what's next? Where do I go from here? I was making more money than I knew what to do with. I was having a lot of fun. I was working a lot of hours. And then I started working on more of a work personal life balance kind of a deal. How can I bring this great quality of education to the consumer, to the buyer, the seller, but then also have the quality of life that I was looking for. So I started working a lot on that. And then that developed into becoming really an entrepreneur. And after I had all this moderate success in real estate, I thought, how can I help other people? I'm a believer that this is just my personal opinion, that the entire real estate system is broken.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is I'm not a believer that any brokerage firm should bring you in and just say, there's a desk and a phone and, good luck to you. We should be training and teaching. Yeah. I was the recipient of a lot of success through coaching and training. And I wanted to share those same methods with people that maybe couldn't afford to do it. And when I joined in coaching, James, it's expensive. It's not cheap. It cost me $1,000 a month when I started in my coaching program, and I've spent $500,000 learning how to in coaching, learning how to sell and talk with and scripts and dialogues and communication and work ethic. So spent a ton of money figuring it out. And the challenge with it is a new person coming into the business, they're not going to take that kind of a risk when they're trying to figure out how to get off the ground. So what my company does today is we bring agents in and we teach them how to do it. So it's not costing them anything. It's just a coaching program within our brokerage firm and our company. And that's where the entrepreneurial side and coach kind of came out. And it's been a lot of fun. I've had so much fun working this side of the business now. There was nothing more to prove in real estate. I mean, I was selling more listings than any other agent in the area. I was making a whole bunch of money. I was building great systems, and I had buyer's agents that worked in our company and were doing well. And it was time to take another step. And so we then now bring in just a bunch of really good realtors to help us succeed at just a different level.
Yeah, and I totally agree with a point you said that was very loud and clear to me. I mean, one of the things I'm personally doing myself is we know that there's a lot of people that want to get in the mortgage business, but they don't know how to turn on the computer. They don't know how to navigate through all the different systems and the guidelines and how to price loans and pull credit, read credit. And there's nothing out there that really teaches you that. So we're in the process. If anybody is interested, they can instant message me later. But we're in the process of actually teaching Loan Officer 101 to anybody that wants to kind of get into the business. And that sounds like a lot of what you do, because there's really, the industry's kind of broke in that regard. We've notoriously had a lot of newbie loan officers that come in and think they can just, do this job. And there's really a lot more to it. And another thing that I think you are a big proponent of is that you got to be engaged every single day in this business. You can't just be a part-timer, or number one, you're going to be exposed. People will know that and see that and feel that. That'd be clients or other agents or whoever you're dealing with in the transaction. And really, number two is you have to do something every day. And if you don't do something every day, this business will just pass you by. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, I like saying it this way: is try to do anything part-time and have a high level of success in it. I've never met anybody that is able to accomplish that. I mean, if you want to go and get into shape, you don't go to the gym 2 days a week. If you want to have a great relationship with your spouse, you aren't doing it part-time. And have a great relationship with your spouse takes a full-time effort. If you want to have a connection with your family and your children, you have to be fully present. So you have to dedicate 100% of something to have growth in that area. And the challenge with real estate agents today, and I think it's been this way for well before I ever got here, probably since existence, is that they go into it. A lot of them go into it with a part-time attitude, and then shame. And I would say this: shame on brokers, total brokers in the marketplace, because they're working a broken system. I know, and for those that are watching this and might want to make a note, 87% of the agents who get a license are out of the business within 18 months. And the reason that happens is for two reasons. Number one, we let anybody come in the business who wants to, which is fine. We can't stop that. But number two, the brokers don't really provide any massive service or education in order to move the agent forward. And so there's a little bit of like going, hey, everyone shows up, but not a lot of people succeed. And then the brokers, who I think are responsible, the owners of these brokerage firms are responsible for taking an agent in and giving them every tool possible, regardless of the cost, to push them forward so they can feed their family. Mm-hmm. And so we at our team probably have done this to a high level of degree. I'm not saying it's always great, but to a high level degree, it says we only want full-time people. We only want committed people. We want people to build business plans and structures. We want to be your accountability partner. We want to help you grow. We want to help you succeed. We want you to build dreams. We want you to have things that you want. And we believe that if you're going to come to work, you owe it to your family to be at work and to provide a nice income so you guys can all afford to have the luxuries of life that money brings when you attain your goal.
Yeah, that's so awesome. So awesome. So what do you think is your special? I mean, we all talk about, maybe your explanation of services, about if I'm going to share what your explanation of services is to the community out there. How do you explain your explanation of services? What is your pitch on what you do differently, or what experience you create more so for your clients?
Well, first of all, I'm going to say that
that's a great question, by the way.
Because you asked it. Hey, thanks for preparing me for the question.
Yeah. I like to put you on the spot too. Yeah.
Well, we all have to remember this: that it's never about us. It's always about the client, and it's always about their experience. And it's all about the consumer's experience with us, right? And so one of the things that I learned early on, James, when I was selling houses, and I was a big expired guy. That was my big reputation. Don't expire the listings because Bernie's going to call it. Don't withdraw something because Bernie's going to call it. And so I would say that the number one reason that an agent got fired was a lack of communication. And so one thing that we really preach, we work it within our admin staff, we talk about it a lot within our group, is communicating with the client at a high level. That's really important. So the question, though, I think that to help the viewers understand, well, I mean, I can call them, that's fine. That might not be really what I'm saying. We have to have the skill or work on the skill or have an understanding of what we call a healthy confrontational conversation. Because everything in real estate and conversations, it's like you calling somebody and say, hey, I'm really sorry. I'm not going to be able to fund this loan for you. I'm not going to be able to get you qualified because your credit score is a 400, right? And now, if you know their credit scores are 400 and you wait all the way until the 11th hour to tell them they don't qualify, they've already picked out a home, they might be a little upset with you.
Right.
Maybe the reason you didn't tell them early on is because you didn't want to have a conflict early, right? And so what I would try to share to my group is this. It's always better to work on healthy conversation and get it out early and learn the skills to have these kinds of conversations. So I'm going to backtrack to your question. What makes us different?
Yeah.
What makes us different is we work on how to have healthy conversations with our clients so they understand the process. And if we can't help them, we don't dance around the situation. We just come out and say, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to help you, and this is the reason why. Or if it's a listing, let's just say, in an old market, not this market, but if it's a listing and there's a price adjustment needed in that. What I learned when I was, selling a lot of expired listings in those days was that the agent was actually at fault for the house not selling. It really wasn't the market. And why it was the agent, James, was that the agent had a hard time going to the seller and bringing them to come to the understanding that they had a price issue on their home. So instead of having a price issue and the agent then was being bombarded by the homeowner saying, why isn't my home selling? The agent was then saying, well, the market's just not great, or the interest rate's not great, or there are no buyers in the marketplace, or it's the wrong time of the year. It's October. No one buys in October. It's Halloween. It's getting too cold. Well, it's November because it's Thanksgiving. People don't buy during Thanksgiving. December, nobody buys.
Yeah.
Now, here's the difference. October, November, and December were my best months of the entire year.
I love that.
The reason why it was because all the other agents stopped working and said this is why homes don't sell. But yet I was selling 40 to 50 listings per month during that particular time.
I love that. I mean, we see it all. We see it year in and year out where the majority of agents, they just take, once Halloween hits, I mean, they pack up for the year and they think that's it. That's it. There's no more business. I don't want to waste my time. There's nothing out there. So I would love to hear, that's a great testament there. So I want to ask you one more question, and then we're going to jump into hopefully some great questions out there. I see a lot of people logging in here and really putting some good stuff. But the one question I have is you're really big with systems, scripting.
Yes.
Doing things repeatedly, standardization of your process. How important is that, whether you're just a solo agent, not under a team of any kind, or you work for a team like yourself? How important are some of those key things as it relates to being able to grow your business? And can you pick just a couple of easy things that a new agent, for example, or maybe even one that's fairly seasoned, that's just kind of been stagnant, that they can do a little bit different to try to change what their volume can be?
I think it's a really great question. So here's what I'm going to say. Everybody has a system. The question is it working to get you to the goal that you're trying to achieve?
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to. Everybody has a script. Everybody has some sort of a system. It's how you get up in the morning. It's the roles you play before you go to work. It's how you treat yourself at work. It's how you treat others. It's the dedication you have. It's the procrastination you have. You have a system that you've created personally. The question you want to ask yourself is what I'm doing in the system that I'm adapting to, or the one that I've accepted is a better one. Does it align with the goals that I have to achieve the things that I want to achieve? All right. So what we do is we ask really tough questions, and that is, what is it you want to have, and what are you willing to give up to have it? So in other words, well, I want to show up at 10 o'clock in the morning instead of 8. Well, showing up at 10 o'clock in the morning has no relevance on how successful you are. It's only when you show up, what do you do with the time that you have? So whether it's at 10 o'clock, at 12 o'clock, I know an agent who shows up at 12 and works until 10 o'clock at night and has a lot of success. But if you show up at 12 and you leave at 3 in the afternoon, did you put enough time in to develop the skills? So we work on a system that works within how that agent wants to succeed in life. The other thing is, we are in a technology-driven world, James, and what you're starting to notice, if everybody hasn't noticed it, we are in a team-building real estate concept. And the reason why we're in a team-building real estate concept is because we can bring technology and systems within our own teams and organizations that brokers won't invest in. There's a whole other reason why brokers won't invest in that. We'll talk about that another time. But I think that you have to have technology, you have to have systems, you have to have a plan, but you can't build a plan unless you have a goal. Yeah. And I love this one, that a goal is not a thought or idea that you have that you would like to have happen someday. That's called a dream.
It's called a dream, yeah.
A goal is something that actually has an end date. So we think that we look at our plans and say, okay, we're going to develop a plan this week, this month, this quarter, this year. And it's going to take you X amount of days, X amount of effort, an extra amount of commitment in order for you to achieve that. And we want to monitor that. So our system really is, yes, we have technology, we have software programs, we have a TV show, we have all sorts of things that we're doing now to develop leads and distribution opportunities for buyers and sellers to come into our company. But to me, when I hear a system, it's how do I put you in a place to develop a system for you so you can accomplish things at the highest level possible. Hope that answered your question.
Yeah, and so I want to translate to everything Bernie just said, which I thought was an amazing statistic. So for all you listeners out there, and especially those that are real estate agents, Bernie's team did over 700 transactions last year that equated to 245 million in home sales. That is phenomenal. But here's what's even more phenomenal. The average agent working for Bernie's team averaged 36 transactions per agent. That tells you cannot do that. I promise you, even in the mortgage business, you cannot do that unless you have dedication, you have systems in place, you have some automation, you have some technology, and most of all, you have some accountability and a goal. So it definitely proves that what you're doing works. Hats off to you. I think that's super awesome. Congratulations to all the success you and your team have had. And so without further ado, we want to ask some questions. What kind of questions we have, Joshua? We have anything? We have any kind of excitement going on? I see a lot of chatter going on in our box here. So before we let Bernie go, is there any questions that we have for Bernie in his experience? And while we're waiting on those questions, tell us a little bit about the pulse of what's going on in the real estate market today. Obviously, there's low inventory, buyers, lots of buyers, not enough sellers. Sellers not wanting to sell their house because they're afraid they can't get into something else. What's your take on the way 2021's looking and will look for the rest of the year?
Wow. Well, every
you
year,
had a crystal ball.
every year is different, right?
Yeah.
Every year produces and creates a different level of opportunity as a real estate agent. I went through 08 and did really well through 08, but I had to make some adjustments. And then we had a great ramp up between 2012 and 2020, and then now into 2021. I would just say to you guys this: there is skills that we all can learn that we're working on now within our group to help people win, or agents win, at getting offers accepted at a higher level than, let's just say, the average. all things will pass. In other words, if you're struggling a little bit and you're feeling that there are difficult times right now at getting offers accepted, use this opportunity to build on the skill and work on, you cannot continue to keep improving. I'm sorry, you cannot continue to keep doing business the same way and expect the same result. You got to keep improving. And so what I would just say is, and I say this to my group all the time, we have to take this opportunity to continue to keep bettering ourselves. So if you're waiting for the market to be like it was, so if you're waiting for what it was, don't wait for what it was, because even when it gets there, it's not going to be the same as it was the last time we were in that same thing.
So true.
Keep working on your skill. I tell my agents all the time, yes, there are difficult times. Now, we've sold 304 homes since January 1st this year.
Wow.
Right? So we're outpacing our business that we had last year. We're going to land somewhere around 900 or so this year.
Awesome.
But why I'm saying that to you is we're struggling more now than we ever did before, but we're also pushing harder and educating and training and encouraging our agents. And we're working on teaching them things so they can win at a higher level in this market. So they're that much better when the market does allow them more inventory. They're even that much stronger. We have to keep building strength in our knowledge and our education, so when we come out of it, we're even stronger on the other end.
Yeah, I always say that, if you don't have an internal system that's strong and flows in a linear direction without all the zigzagging back and forth, then there's no way you can bring on any kind of volume. You have to have those strong systems. All right, so who's our first question? What do we have? How do you pick a realtor as a buyer? There are so many to choose from. Where do I start?
How do I pick a realtor as a buyer? So in other words, is the question, how do I hire a buyer's agent? Is that the question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Is it because they dress nice? Is it because they look good? They pull up in a fancy car. What's the trick?
I've had all of those: dress nice, pull up in nice cars; not dress nice, pull up on a bicycle. I had one take an Uber because they didn't own a car. Someone walked here for an interview before. So here's what I'd say to you. You really don't know until you get them in your space, in your environment. I think that you interview them and you ask them really important questions and things like, tell me what kind of sports you did, or did you do sports in high school, in college? How competitive are you as a person? What about selling houses or making money is something that you think drives you? Asking questions like that helps to say, am I leaning towards the right person? But it's a little bit, James, like dating.
Yeah.
And I say this, and I would mention to you this off camera. It's a little bit to you like dating, and that is we date somebody because we have an interest, but we go out with them a few times and we realize, maybe this isn't the right one. That's a little bit like finding an agent. Is you have to be willing to you interview them, you like them, you say, listen, we're going to have an opportunity to interview for the next 30 days, meaning that we're going to bring you in, we're going to teach you our systems, we're going to teach you our culture, and then we'll make a decision in 30 days whether or not we think we should continue this relationship.
So let me ask you a real hard question, and maybe somebody's put this in here. I'm going to ask it. So have you ever recognize that, hey, I don't really have a personality match with this client, and I think I might lose this opportunity to get this client because we just aren't on the same page? Have you ever offered up to use one of your other agents on your team that might be a better fit? Have you ever done that?
Yeah, that actually happens quite a bit. Now we're getting into personality styles, and not every personality style is going to fit with everybody. So we certainly try to match the person with the person we think best fits for their style of personality. We have had on numerous occasions where a client has come to us and said, hey, I'm not really just kind of, we're not jiving together, me and this.
But I still want to use RE/MAX. Yeah.
I still want to use you. I mean, I like your company, or let's say it's been a past client that I've had for years that now is working with one of my agents, and they'll call me and go, hey, I love your company. And, we've had obviously a long-standing relationship. Do you have somebody else that you'd be open to letting me work with. And I'd say, you know what, sure. So, because I make mistakes putting them with the wrong people also.
Yeah.
So yes, that does happen.
All right, next question. What do we have, Josh? How do you train your agents to be in the front of the line in multiple offer situations? We actually talked about this earlier. How do you get to the front of the line if we've got, as I talked off camera, if we've got 30 white pieces of paper that say, hey, you're pre-qualified, and that goes to the seller's agent. The seller's agent's reading through these like a resume, and the resumes all look the same. How do you become orange?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. So this is what we're teaching our agents right now. And what's great about sharing this with you guys is there is a lot of coaching that goes with this. So as I go on, you're like, okay, well, that sounds really easy. It's not as easy as it's going to sound. But the challenge with the market today is the agents are sending offers. And you know what they're doing when they're sending an offer? Nothing. They send an offer. They don't text. Well, I'm sorry. They'll text or they'll send an email. This is a relationship business. And that if we're in the relationship business, we have to understand, and I'm going to say this to every agent, if you think I'm not a person to build a relationship with and I'm a listing agent, I am going to work with the person that I want to work with. And if I'm communicating with my seller and I've got one seller, for example, I got 2 offers or 3 offers or 5 offers or 10 offers, whatever it is. And I've had an agent call me and say, hey, let me tell you the story about my client. What can we do to win this deal? How do we get in front of people? I mean, how do we get my buyer to get into this house? Build a relationship with the listing agent, because if it comes up to this point where I'm dealing with 2 offers that are very similar, one has never spoken with me, one hasn't really even communicated with me other than send the offer, and we have 2 that are very close to each other, and the seller says, which one do you think I should take?
Yeah.
I'm going to say, you know what? Based on the conversation I had with this agent, these people right here probably are a little bit of a stronger candidate than this particular person, because I don't know anything about this other person. So it is about building a relationship. So the agent, the one who just asked that question, build a relationship with the listing agent who you're presenting the offer. We should be very shameful that we send text messages and emails and say, God, I hope we get it. Build a relationship with the agent.
Yeah. And I'd like to add to that. I think whoever your lender is that your agent is working with, I think if you've got a relationship with that lender, you need to have your lender help advocate for your buyer to that listing agent. And, whether it's a buyer love letter, whether it's the lender actually calling the listing agent and say, hey, man, I've got a great borrower here. They're an 800 credit score. Of course, you want permission from your buyer to be able to do this, but advocate for your buyer on behalf of your buyer's agents to that listing agent. It only makes the buyer's agent look good, helps maybe have an advocate for the buyer to help them possibly win that deal. Those are some great ideas. Great ideas. All right, what do we got next? What advice would you have for those people who may have been thinking about getting into real estate, however, see that it is a seller's market, don't know how to start, don't know how to brand themselves, drop back and punt type of mentality?
Well, real estate for me was the greatest business I could have ever gotten, because the amount of opportunity that it gave for me personally. And so I'm an advocate of believing that anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. The question I think I would give somebody is, are you willing to commit the time of starting a business? I use this analogy with my team, and I'll share it with you guys. And that is building a real estate business, or any business for that matter, is like raising a child, a little infant. And at some point, you got to ask yourself, at what point can I leave it and walk away from it? Yeah. And for how long can I walk away from it? So you have a newborn. Let's use this as it's a business, as your real estate business. You start it. How much attention do you give a newborn for the first year?
A lot,
right?
A lot.
You don't leave its side, right? Its mom doesn't leave its side. It nurtures it. It stays home with it. It cultures it. It feeds it. And here's the challenge: people get into the real estate business, like any business. It's no different. And they go, well, I'm going to work this, and I'm going to kind of come part-time. I'm going to kind of show up, and I'm not going to show up when I go on vacation. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So here's the answer to that question. Yes, anybody can become successful. This is not a physical sport. This is a mental sport, meaning selling real estate is not how much education do I have. We got a whole bunch of uneducated, when I say educated, sales educated, uneducated salespeople that do very well in real estate. So I would say that if you come into the business with a great attitude, you're willing to work really hard to get it off the ground, right? I share this with my team, and that is a majority of all the fuel used in a rocket is used to get it off the launch pad. And for every, 100 feet it goes in the air, it uses less and less fuel because there's less gravity pulling it down. And so the hardest thing is getting it off the ground. And the challenge for most realtors today is that they get into the business and they're like, well, I'm going to kind of work it 3 days a week. Well, it's like you saying, I'm only going to feed my baby 2 days a week or 3 days a week. Doesn't make any sense. The baby's going to die. And so is your real estate business.
Yes.
So if you're not full-time, don't get into the business.
All right. We got a couple quick questions. We're kind of trying to wrap it up here, but we got just a lot of questions. So that's good. We'll try to answer any of them offline that don't get answered here. What's the most valuable advice to give an agent starting out? I think we just answered that. Any tips on winning, Mickey Duncan? Any tips on winning offers in a multiple offer situation? I think we kind of hit on that a little bit already. Any more we have here, Josh? Any thoughts or concerns on the housing inventory continuing to dramatically decrease costs in the U.S.? How would you deal with it going forward?
Well, hey, listen, I don't think it's healthy. I think that we're actually, everyone talks about how great the housing market is. This is my personal opinion. I hope I didn't get any hate mail on this, but this is not healthy for our industry.
No.
We cannot continue to keep being an advocate of how great this real estate market is. We need things to change. We need interest rates to rise, and we need to slow this thing down. We are, I don't ever try to get too political, but they always talk about the poor and the rich, right? There's a big gap between it. We are creating that right now within our real estate industry because the middle or the bottom half, whatever that looks like, the poor and the rich, they can't even afford to buy houses anymore. We're creating a bigger gap than is healthy for the economy, plus the amount of inflation that we're going to deal with. So I would just say this. You have to work the market you have. You have to be better in the market you have. And I will say this to everybody, it won't last. It will come to an end. And people are like, oh no, how long do you think it'll be? It's not going to be that long because it can't continue like this. It's pushing everybody out, and it's making the wealthy be able to buy, the people with good jobs able to buy, people that are making nice incomes able to buy. And it's taking the bulk of who normally buys houses, and it's pushing them out.
Yeah, that's so good. I mean, we see it all the time on the lending side, especially where you have your first-time home buyers, your clients coming just right out of college, wanting to have a little home, whatever. A couple things are happening. I mean, they come out with a lot of them come out with a large amount of student debt, which now goes into their qualification, affects the amount of house they can buy. And if they go out there and try to find that $200,000 and $250,000 house, it's just not out there. Most investors are paying cash for these houses as they come on the market. They can't build them fast enough. Builders aren't wanting to build that price point of home because they can't afford it. Yes. Because of the profitability. Yes. If anybody hasn't seen what lumber prices are, they're through the roof, not to mention other cost of goods to build a house. So you will not even see builders building this price point of house, and therefore it's throwing a lot of people out of the market in that bottom rung. Not to say it in a negative way, but in that bottom rung, we still need those people to buy houses to stimulate the economy.
Yes. And what's interesting is we look at this and go, God, is the real estate market really good right now? And the answer to that is yes. When in 2008, as hard as this is to say, 2008 was great for me. 2009, 2010, because you continue to keep adapting. And yes. So when you learn to adapt, this is almost the pendulum has swung this way, where where there was a ton of listing inventory and not a lot of buyers. And now it's shifted this way where there's a ton of buyers and not a lot of listing inventory. And I would just say that this is the cycle every 6 to 8, 10 years, whatever. It's going to go through up and down cycles. And if you're going to be in the real estate business, you have to understand that what happens in 2021 won't be in 2022, won't be in 2025. It'll be something in 2027. And you just continue to keep learning and educating and committing to a long-term goal. Real estate business is great for anybody who wants to get in it, but you have to be able to do it the right way. The challenge with saying to do it the right way is this, and I'll leave James you with this last thought. You have to be able to know that selling 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 homes a year might be okay. Mm-hmm. But you can put as much effort, probably less effort, and sell 20, 30 homes, 40 homes if you do it the right way. So why not make 2 to 3 times more money than you're making right now if you can learn to do it the right way? And that's the message that I say to people. It's not making 3 times the money you make today isn't 3 times the effort. It's the same effort. It's putting the systems together that actually accumulate the transactions, which then accumulate the income.
Awesome. That's so good. So if you're wanting to get in the real estate business or even the mortgage business, I agree. This is still a great time. It always will be a great time because here is the simple facts. Home purchases, home buying and selling, home financing, home refinancing, it's never going away. If interest rates are 12, 13%, we still have products to sell. It's never going to go away. And that in itself creates a lot of stability for anyone trying to get into this business that really wants to work it as their full-time job. So listen, we got down here at the bottom how to get in touch with Bernie Gallerani if you want to maybe try to be on his team. He's very, very, very picky, and he only has some very good talent that he wants, that is motivated to really do this business. But if you want to reach out to him, here's his information scrolling across the screen. Obviously, if you want to get in the mortgage business, we have our information as well that we'd love to hear from you because, as Bernie said earlier, there still are a lot of people out there that are, especially because of COVID, that are looking for career changes. Maybe they've been downsized. Maybe they've decided now, hey, is a good time to do something different. If you are, reach out to us. Hope you learned something today. Stay tuned for James Harper live next week, and we'll have another special guest. Thank you so much, Bernie, for being on the show. We appreciate you.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate you guys listening. Hope you have a great day.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.